Als u mijn vrienden mag niet zaken of je SAPS, SAV of Rhodesian Army was. Je weet hoe belangrijk het is jou even schoon te houden. So in today's video we're going to talk about FAL maintenance. I just want to state that the FAL is not a very picky weapon, so it doesn't need to be cleaned after every range use. However, if I trust my life in my FAL, I want to make sure it is maintained well, that the intervals in which I clean it are within decent time, and that I clean the important parts to ensure that it runs well in the worst case scenario. So let's get started on this rather boring topic of maintaining the FAL. I have my 16-inch R1 Paraclone with me, and we're going to clean it today. I've never cleaned this weapon. I fired around 800 rounds through it. So let's see how dirty it is and what spots need to be maintained well. The first step is completely disassembling the rifle. That includes taking the upper and the lower receiver apart. So after disassembly, we're going to look at the specific parts that need to be cleaned. So the first part we're going to look at is the upper receiver. I got multiple parts I want to clean. The first is the entire barrel. I want to clean the bore, the star chamber, and the chamber where the bolt carrier runs at. So let's get to it. Let's clean these parts. So first I clear the chamber. Also going to take a Q-tip to clean inside of here where the bullet will enter into the barrel. So the entire bore needs to be cleaned. The next thing I'm going to clean is the barrel. I'm going to insert a bore snake through the bore and we'll run it down the barrel. Barrel is all cleaned. So that concludes cleaning the upper receiver. If I wanted to, I can always clean where the gas port is sitting at. This part up here. Run a Q-tip. Sure there's no dirt. With that out of the way, I'll divert my attention now to the gas piston with the spring. Cleaning the gas piston is super easy. I'm going to wipe down the dirt on the outside, and I'm going to take a Scotch-Brite pad to clear off the dirt that is sitting on top of it. This kind of carbon buildup can cause an improper seal with the gas plug and make the FAL not run 100% reliable. Also want to make sure there's no dirt around it, just to have it super clean. After cleaning that, I can check the spring whether there's any debris or anything caught in it. If there's nothing in it, I got that squared away. The next piece I'm going to clean is the gas plug itself. I want to make sure that the gas plug is all cleaned and there's no carbon buildup on the outside, which can also lead to malfunctions. I can also use a green Scotch-Brite pad to clean off carbon buildup on the bottom of it. If I wanted to, I can use some pipe cleaners and clean the inside of the gas plug. Also want to make sure that there is no dirt on top or on the sides so that it can properly close. After I clean the gas plug, I can set it aside and divert my attention to the bolt. The bolt, I want to wipe down any remaining bits and pieces of cartridges, such as these little spots here, to ensure it's completely cleaned. For the little grooves in the bolt, I can use pipe cleaner to run them through the grooves. I can also use Q-tips to take excess dirt off those little crevices and pieces that are hard to reach on the bolt. I also want to make sure that there's nothing stuck inside the extractor. I'm not going to take the extractor off. We're not doing a full armor's deep dive into the FAL cleaning. After I clean the bolt, I'm going to look at the bolt carrier and again wipe down any dirt, any grime, any residue of cartridges. I should say brass residue. Can use my Q-tips, go in here too, clean that channel out. Also want to make sure there's no dirt on these rails where the bolt will run inside the upper receiver. After I'm done cleaning with the bolt carrier, I look at my recoil spring. I can take my recoil spring apart. I can inspect it for any dirt that might be caught up. Wipe it down. Put it back together. The next part we're going to look at is the lower receiver. I want to inspect it and see if there's any dirt inside the trigger housing, make sure, or inside the trigger group, make sure there's no trigger in there, and that it's clean. For that, I'm going to use some Q-tips. Can also wipe down the surfaces with my cloth. Alright, so that includes the cleaning aspect of the FAL. Next, we're going to get to lubricating it. In order to generate a good understanding of cleaning and of lubricating, I use the South African Defence Force R1 manual. And on page 1-18 it states, oiling. Prior to assembly, the rifle is lightly oiled as follows. They're going to oil the barrel and gas cylinder, all the component parts of the rifle, and the interior and exterior of the rifle. Which, I'm not going to douse the entire rifle in oil. I don't think that's very practical, but I'm oiling specific components. I spoke to a bunch of FAL armorers and people in the Rhodesian and South African army, and they all said the same thing. Oil needs to go on the bolt carrier, so that it runs inside the dust cover, inside the rails where the bolt is running on the piston, and that's about it. So let's get started. I'm also applying a little bit of oil on the bolt, because the bolt also tilts inside the bolt carrier, so I want to make sure that that function is being considered. I'm going to put some oil on my piston and also inside the upper receiver. So I'm not taking off my dust cover because that is Loctited to it and I don't want to take the Loctite off. So I'm just going to put some into the spots I can see where I know that the bolt will run. Since I'm dropping the bolt from the rear, I can oil the parts here in the rear so the bolt, when he goes forward, will also run. One thing I forgot to mention, I want to inspect, maybe clean if there's any debris in it, and also oil, is this entire part where the charging handle runs. So after oiling the major components, I'm going to put the rifle back together. The upper is all assembled, so all I got to do is marry the lower to the upper receiver, and then we're going to fire some rounds and enjoy a nice running rifle. The rifle is all back together. Let's hit the range and see if it all worked out. So right here at the range, all we're going to do is test it, see whether I assembled it correctly, and enjoy a clean rifle. I also want to say thank you to my not official sponsor. It's Monster. They gave me absolutely nothing, but I really enjoyed the pink Monster energy drinks. I got 5 rounds of me with my R1 Paraclone. See how it runs. Woo, it feels smooth. Runs, bolt locks to the rear, so functions check, great success. It runs perfectly fine. You know what also really nice gun is? The 416 clone. I built a German MR223A3 clone with a lot of US parts and some German. It is neat. Runs super flat. Anyhow, topic for another video. So I hope you enjoyed this short video on how to maintain an FAL rifle. Yes, I know it's only field strip. We're gonna do a basic cleaning, but it's a cleaning that will actually help you maintain the reliability of an FAL. Again, you don't need to clean it every time you go to the range. It's more of a bigger cleaning, or if you're a soldier out in the field and you rely on this rifle, or if you're a civilian and you want to rely on it in a worst case scenario. I clean my rifles every once in a while just to ensure they're still working and to be able to put my life or trust my life with these rifles. They're great guns, so let's make sure they will run for a long time. So a big thank you and shout out to all my South African followers who are in the SAPS, SADF, or security forces, or security personnel, I should say, who gave me inputs and comments on this rifle and who support my channel. Also thank you to all the Americans. You're a great crowd. Bye donkey, en tot volgende keer weer. Cheers.